Hi, I'm Naomi Kyle, host of This Week in Gaming podcast. Big thanks to our partners CTV News Shopping Trends and Amazon Canada for making this show possible. Starting November 21st, Amazon's Black Friday deals are here, and I'm here to help you with holiday savings. I've handpicked some top offers on gaming essentials. Visit amazon.ca/shop/shopping trends for my recommendations. Don't miss out. Click, save, and enjoy. Happy shopping and happy gaming.
It's Black Friday now at Shein. Up to 95% off at your one-stop shop. Stylish clothes, beauty products, holiday decor, and gifts. Stay savvy, shop Shein. Visit ca.shein.com today.
This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello everyone, I'm Naomi Kyle and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on the next actor to play Tomb Raider's Lara Croft, the Game Awards nominees, and Phil Spencer's plan for the future of Xbox. We've got all of this week's gaming news. Let's hop in. Microsoft Gaming has issued a new advertising campaign that features electronics like TVs, phones, and an Amazon Fire Stick with the caption, "This is an Xbox." This advertising push by Microsoft drives home to the company's strategy to encourage consumers to associate the Xbox brand with gaming on all devices. Understandably, early adopters of the Xbox Series consoles are upset and feel that Microsoft is shifting away from favoring the Xbox for a larger audience in the PC and cloud gaming space. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer acknowledged this shift in an interview with Rolling Stone. "Our biggest growth in Xbox players is on PC and cloud. The console space isn't growing. We love those customers, but in terms of continuing to expand and grow Xbox, it's about PC. It's about making our games more available in more places." But does this mean that Xbox will stop making consoles? Phil Spencer doesn't think so. He said, "We'll definitely do more consoles in the future and other devices." The other devices he mentioned could be a reference to the rumored handheld Xbox. It isn't confirmed, but many speculate that one could be in the works to compete with the many handheld PCs we've seen flood the market over the last couple of years. "We are trying to expand. What does an Xbox mean?" Phil continues in the interview, "I think in order for Xbox to be vibrant, it needs to be about multiple pieces of hardware. Perhaps next generation we'll see a diverse family of Xbox consoles like we do now with the Nintendo Switch. Maybe there will really be an Xbox TV and an Xbox phone. Or would that run counter to the Xbox Cloud gaming model?" More on this subject with my guest Khalif Adams later in the show. The Game Awards, which is functionally equivalent to the Academy Awards but for video games, has officially announced its nominees across 29 categories. The most prestigious award, the Game of the Year award, has been heavily debated among gamers for which game will be crowned the best game of the year. I'll briefly cover a handful of categories, and the nominees are: for Best Multiplayer Game, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. For Best Role-Playing Game, Dragon's Dogma 2 makes the list, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantazio. For Best Action Adventure Game, there's Astrobot, Prince of Persia The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. For Best Score and Music, we have Astrobot, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. For Best Art Direction, we have Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Neva. For Best Narrative, Final Fantasy Rebirth, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantazio, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2 make the list. And finally, for the Game of the Year nominees, we have Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree, Metaphor ReFantazio, and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Congratulations to all of the games and their nominations. There are even more categories that you can check out for yourself over at thegameawards.com, where you can vote for your favorite games of 2024. Voting for the Game Awards will end on December 11th at 6 p.m. Pacific Time, and the ceremony for the Game Awards begins on December 12th at 4:30 p.m. There are some of you out there that have already noticed that one of the Game of the Year nominations is not like the others. That's right, Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree has been nominated for the Game of the Year award along with several other categories. But how can that be if Elden Ring already won Game of the Year back in 2024? Well, as it turns out, DLCs are in fact eligible for nominations across all categories. In the frequently asked questions section of the Game Awards website, the question of whether or not DLC, remasters, and remakes are eligible for nomination, to which they've responded the following. The Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories. If the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination, factors such as the newness of the content and its price/value should be taken into consideration. So that does it then. It is perfectly legal for DLCs like Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree if the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination, and honestly, it deserves it. The DLC is nearly as large as the base game, and with the same amount of variety and polish that we've come to expect from Software. But we'll of course have more to say on this story a little later on in the show. Amazon Prime Video made an official announcement back in May of this year that they would be adopting the Tomb Raider franchise in a live-action TV series, with Phoebe Waller-Bridge taking on the role as the series showrunner. Since then, there has been no answer from Amazon or the showrunner regarding who will be cast to play Tomb Raider's protagonist, Lara Croft. However, in a recent exclusive story from Deadline, reports that Game of Thrones veteran Sophie Turner is currently in negotiations with production staff to star as the iconic video game heroine. Sophie Turner is, of course, best known for playing Sansa Stark in the aforementioned Game of Thrones series, and she has also portrayed Jean Grey in X-Men Apocalypse and X-Men Dark Phoenix. Neither Sophie Turner or Amazon has confirmed or denied the report, but if Sophie is cast as Lara Croft, production for the series could begin 2025, meaning we could see the Tomb Raider series air sometime in 2026, possibly even in early 2026. Hi listeners, I have some exciting news to announce. This Week in Gaming, our show, has received its very first sponsorship from Amazon. This couldn't have been possible without each one of you tuning in every week, and I can't thank you guys enough. To mark this occasion, Amazon has asked me to make a list of 10 of my favorite gaming gadgets that will be on sale from now until December 2nd, and I just want to take a minute to highlight 2 of my favorites from the list. PC gamers, I don't have to tell you how important a great keyboard is, but I think I've stumbled across the perfect keyboard for gaming and streaming. The Razer Deathstalker V2 Pro wireless gaming keyboard has everything I've ever wanted in a keyboard. The keys are tuned to be delightfully clicky, but quiet enough so my mic doesn't pick up the audio when I stream. It comes equipped with brilliant RGB lighting, and it easily handles long play sessions. I literally charge it once a week, and it is the best keyboard I've ever owned, and I'm convinced it will outlive me. Inside of me, there are 2 wolves. One is a PC gamer, and the other is a console gamer. If I just want to veg out on the couch and play a quick game, 9 times out of 10, I'm grabbing my Xbox controller, booting up my Series X. I tend to gravitate towards the Xbox for several reasons. First and foremost, Xbox Game Pass is the undisputed greatest deal in gaming. I can quickly and easily play one of over 400 titles. I always end up playing another Crab's Treasure, but it's nice to have options. I chose to go with the Xbox Series X over the Series S because we have a 4K TV in our living room, and when I'm playing or reviewing a game, I need it to look its very best. Plus, I have a collection of Xbox 360, and Xbox One games, which are all playable thanks to backwards compatibility supported by the Xbox Series X. If either of the products I mentioned piqued your interest, or you just like window shopping and want to see the other gadgets I've recommended, please visit amazon.ca/shop/shopping trends, or click the link in the description of the podcast version of the show. By doing so, you're directly contributing to the future success of our show. So thank you again so much for your continued support. It truly means the world to me that you would take the time out of your week to listen to me geek out about games with my friends every week. So for that, I am so grateful.
Games out this week.
And now let's go over the video games releasing this week. On November 19th, Stray is up for adoption on the Nintendo Switch. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 touches down on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and releases day one on Game Pass. November 20th, Genshin Impact is ported over to the Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, detonates onto PC, Xbox Series X and S, and gets a day one release on Game Pass. Then on November 21st, On Your Tail investigates on PC and Nintendo Switch. And then Total War Empire takes control of iOS and Android mobile devices. And on November 22nd, Spiritmancer hacks and slashes its way onto PS5, PC, and Nintendo Switch. The Epic Games Store is offering just one free game this week, Beholder, which will be available for download from November 21st to the 28th.
Quest complete.
So that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest. Khalif Adams joins us to chat about the Canadian-made game South of Midnight, Xbox's future, and the Game Awards' big Game of the Year nominees.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Khalif, our regular, is back for another episode of This Week in Gaming. Khalif, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be a regular degular. As much as you need me to be, I'm always down. So thank you so much for having me.
Heck yeah. And we're getting to award season, so we're going to have a chat about that. But for now, I want to touch on something very cool you did recently. You were in Montreal. This is a Canadian show, so we have to mention that Montreal is the gaming studio capital of the world. Would you agree?
1,000%. I forgot how many studios were so close in proximity and in the area. So it was a lot of fun to be able to go for my first time to Montreal and get a chance to check out the city. And I had the pleasure of going to see South of Midnight from Compulsion Games, which is a huge game in my mind for 2025. So it was a blast. I'm dying to go back.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed the city that I used to live in, but also tell me about this game and what you saw and why people should be excited for it.
Yeah, so I was lucky enough to come up and do some coverage of the game. They let us see a fantastic demo of South of Midnight, which is this kind of, it's a game set in the Deep South. Around this one character named Hazel, who's this young teenager who's kind of, learning about, her world. And she has these magical powers that kind of stitch the world together through what they call, is it called threading? I think it's called threading potentially, if I'm right. And it's fantastic because it's like, it has this really cool art style that balances kind of traditional animation alongside stop motion, which is something that you don't get a chance to see often enough. And it really digs into this kind of like Southern Gothic vibe, which is something that you don't get a chance to see at all when it comes to settings for games. So we got a chance to check out the game. We had a hands-off demo, talk to the team. I put up 3 really fantastic interviews with the cast of the game and also some of the folks who helped to make it. So it was a blast, getting a chance to check out a game that is really anticipated and also get so much hands-on time with the team was really, really cool. So I was fantastic, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sad I didn't have as much food as I wanted.
Oh, right.
But
no poutine.
But getting no poutine. I feel stereotypical to be like, yeah, you went to Canada, you didn't get poutine,
right?
But I didn't get any poutine. I was
oh man,
didn't get a chance to get me. I failed my mission for sure.
Well, at least you got to check out a really cool game. Everyone should keep it on their radar. So you said 2025, but no official release date yet.
No official date yet, but coming soon.
All right, keep an eye out, guys. But let's talk really quickly. It's been in the news. Phil Spencer, Xbox, Microsoft, next console now. People are talking about what is the future of Microsoft when it comes to hardware? What are you predicting for their next console? What can we speculate at this point, if anything?
Well, at least we know that you're an Xbox and I'm an Xbox at this
Indeed.
point. Looking at the latest marketing campaign that they put out. I mean, the biggest information that I think that was something that I think everyone should take away from is, one, the rumored handheld console is definitely coming. It's not coming soon. Super excited for that. But I think in terms of, what's the gap that we wind up seeing, we'll talk a little bit about the differences between Sony and Xbox. But I think right now, I think they have to double down on hardware in terms of specs, right? I think the biggest jump that we wind up seeing, and it's a little bit different in the ways that you think about what they're trying to do versus what the other side is trying to do. And I think They'll have to double down to kind of keep the diehard fans ready because games are getting bigger in terms of size. Games are getting more complex in terms of graphic fidelity and all of those things. So they have to make a really beefy machine. In terms of specs, if we were to dig into that, that's just hard to do. We can't forecast that far out.
Yeah.
Even if it is a couple years away. But it was really telling that they didn't do a mid-gen refresh, which is something that you do see a lot of companies do, or at least Sony has done a lot. And them not doing that, I feel, gives them a much better competitive advantage to see what happens when the PlayStation 6 drops.
Right.
Because then they can actually go head-to-head with that console in a way where they don't have to, move some resources over to do something different in the medium space, right? So I think, everything is moving towards getting things beefy and almost being a PC.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we'll see. We'll see something that's probably, if you're playing on a 4090 card right now, it's going to be closer to that than what it would wind up being, further down the road.
Which is good, and it's kind of wild too that they're gonna. I think it's needed, but it's funny to see how just consoles as they upgrade, getting closer and closer to what you can get on a PC. Let's talk about PlayStation's their focus now, just in comparison to Microsoft, because for a while it seemed like we didn't know what Microsoft was doing, and PlayStation has been very clear about what they're focusing on when it comes to gaming. Can you define it a little bit for folks who might not understand the scope of these two companies and how it's important to know what each of them are doing?
Yeah, I think if you were to look at the current strategy from Microsoft, it is to be everywhere all at once, right? It's to try to figure out how to be as ubiquitous as possible. Like, how far can you push your games to every platform that you can possibly do it? So if you want to play on the TV, on the OS of a television, you can do it that way. If you want to play on your phone, you can do it that way. Once they get their hardware in the handheld space together, you'll play on your handheld version of it. So they're really trying to not just be the console team anymore, because they know from a diminishing returns perspective, the console market has flattened. It has gone very, very flat in that way. It's not growing. Most folks either are waiting to get a new console or not buying a new console across generations, and they're waiting. So they're really trying to be the everything box and get you games wherever you can get them. Sony has decided to really double down on hardware and trying to be the beefiest machine. You see that with the PlayStation 5 Pro that just came out a couple weeks ago. That is really a machine that's kind of giving you what this generation was promising, which is 4K 60 out of the box. But we don't know what the PlayStation 6 holds. And I think that's the big kind of, elephant in the room. And it's weird because both teams, if you really think about what they're scoping into, it really winds up being around one game, and that's GTA 6.
That's so true.
I think everybody's really trying to position around what that game is going to bring. And those teams and those companies have an idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're working really closely with Rockstar to see, how to make that game really shine on their console. So I think it's, doubling down on hardware on the Sony side, and really not thinking about cloud, while Microsoft is absolutely trying to double down on the cloud space.
Oh, absolutely. And it was, what we saw in the news this week. So it's been pretty clear. Luckily, I think Microsoft's, we understand a bit better, like what they're hoping to do. But I think it's smart, like you said, waiting for PlayStation to come out with their PlayStation 6 or whatever that ends up being and going from there. Let's talk the Game Awards. They are being held December 12th. Jeff Keighley's usual show is taking place in Los Angeles, and already we know that the nominees will be announced tomorrow at the time of this recording. But how do you feel about this one thing before we get into the nominee speculation? DLC is being taken into consideration for Game of the Year noms? What is this?
You can hear in my voice how I'm like, what is this about?
Yeah.
I don't think this is the way to go. I mean, I think DLC in all of its forms has very specific leanings, right? It's an extension of, the game that you originally purchased. And it can be so many different things, right? It can
be an expansion.
It can be an expansion. It can be a total offshoot and it has nothing to do with the main game. It can just be, we got you new guns and new weapons and new skins. Like, DLC has too many flavors for this to be something that is kind of considered in the way that they're thinking about it. So I don't know if this is going to work. I think we'll see a lot of folks be mad about it. And to be fair, and we're going to talk about the nominees specifically, this is really about one game, and that's Elden Ring. right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's really about that one game.
Yeah, we know Shadow of the Erdtree was huge. People loved it. Everyone was like, this is the best DLC ever made. So yeah, they want to see it win. But I think, what I've seen the general folks online talk about is this should just be its own category.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just cuts all the nonsense out. Just like give it its own category and make it that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They'll still get They'll still get the consideration and the accolades that they're seeking from that. All right, nominees. So at the time of this recording, unfortunately, the nominees have not been announced. They are going to be officially announced on Monday, the 18th of November. But we're recording this a bit early. So we're going to talk, who do we think the nominees will be? What are we expecting for, in particular, the Game of the Year nominee list? Mm-hmm. Any speculations there?
Yeah.
I know my picks, but.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the year that the kind of middling game gets its love in the space, right? It's the game that wasn't really the critical acclaimed game that will get a shot. Like Elden Ring will absolutely be in the mix, and it should be. I think everyone has conceded that. I think that's reasonable. I think a couple other games that I don't particularly think are that great will probably also then get nominated because it's one that a lot of folks have really played a bunch of. So Wukong, I think, is going to be one of those games. I think Dragon Age, I'm having a blast with it, but I don't think it'll necessarily get to that level. But I do think it will be nominated. There was another one. Stellar Blade, I think, is another game that will be in that mix too. That had a lot of fan acclaim, but in my estimation, my review, was a kind of middle of the road game. So I think right. those 3 or 4 games will definitely probably be in the mix in some categories. And I can't really think of anything that's like the game to stand out this year. That was the one. I've heard
a lot of talk of Astrobot potentially being Game of the Year. That's my pick. I loved it. I do think that for me, that was the game I put the most time in, surprisingly, during the year. So, my personal pick, maybe, I wonder if that will make the list. What do you think?
That's definitely going to make the list. I'm glad you picked that because that was definitely one of the games that definitely had both the critical acclaim and fans really loved it. I think that's going to be in the mix for sure. We'll see a Final Fantasy Rebirth too.
Oh, yeah. Heard about that one being potentially on the list. But of course, we will find out in next episode where, the nominees will have been officially announced at that point, and we'll be able to talk about those in our next episode following this one. But so excited to see that we're wrapping up the year, but there's, some hype still around games, a lot of stuff to talk about before the end of the year. Any games that you think are coming out maybe before the holiday or during the holiday that people should keep an eye out for?
A game that I think you should be playing is Redacted. Redacted from Striking Distance. Everyone's like, what? They did a quick double take. Like, what? It's a game. It's basically like if you took a horror game and Hades and mashed them up together and made it a twin stick shooter. It is very, very
I love that.
Super, super fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Khalif. I'll wish you the best on the Game Awards, whatever's coming for that for you. And I hope to run into you at the award show.
Oh, absolutely. Hugs abound. Hugs abound.
All right. Thanks, Khalif. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Khalif Adams is founder and host of the Spawn on Me podcast. You can follow him on Twitter at Khalif Adams.
Flawless victory. Continue.
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had a blast bringing you all the latest in games. Thank you so much for listening, and shout out to my co-writer, Josh Seaman, for helping me put it all together. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think of these stories by tagging me at Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a fun-filled week, and we'll see you again, same time, same place. Thanks for listening.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Reed, host of A Woman Like You podcast. Big thanks to our partners, CTV News, Shopping Trends, and Amazon Canada for making this show possible. Starting November 21st, Amazon's Black Friday deals are here, and I'm here to help you with holiday savings. I've handpicked some top offers already available. Visit amazon.ca/shop/shopping trends for all my recommendations. Don't miss out. Click, save, and enjoy. Happy listening and happy shopping.